Hi, everyone. My name is Tracy Mitchell. I am the sports dietitian at California State University, Long Beach. And I have here today with me Tavis Piatolly. He is a registered dietitian and basically a supplement guru. He is known in the world of sports nutrition as the go-to guy for supplements. He knows all the current research, and I wanted to bring him in today and have a kind of a question and answer to see if we can get some of these supplement questions that you all have answered and maybe learn a little bit more information around it. So Tavis, I'm going to let you go ahead and give a little background and then we can get started.
Thanks, Tracy. It's an honor to be here. Good to see you, my friend. I know it's been a while, and hope you and your family are doing well. So just a little bit about my background. I've been a sports dietitian for close to 20 years now, and a lot of my work has been in all different kind of sectors of the sports world: high school, college, professional. I spent 8 years with the New Orleans Saints as their sports dietitian consultant, also the New Orleans Hornets and Pelicans for 6 years, from 2006 to 2013 with the Saints, and then 2008 to 13 with the Pelicans, and then Tulane Athletics. I was with them for 14 years as well. Currently, I work for a company called the Taylor Hooten Foundation, where I travel and speak a lot on supplement safety, the dangers of appearance and performance-enhancing substances. We talk a lot about product adulteration. In addition, I am a professor of sports nutrition at Concordia University of Chicago, where I teach classes on vitamins and minerals. But I've also spent some time in the supplement space, creating formulations for products, for working with companies, and launching a brand for a large hospital system about 8 years ago. So it really helped me learn the ins and outs of really what goes into making products, but also the shady side of things that we'll discuss today on really keeping athletes safe and clean.
Great. Thank you. You have such a big background, and I'm so thrilled to have you. I know it might not be long, but I'm thrilled to have you. I'm just going to get started. I see athletes all the time, and I get lots of questions on supplements. And one of the first things that I get that's really hot topic, at least in my university, is the pre-workouts. So pretty much every time I see an athlete, that question may arise. So what do you think about pre-workouts, and what is something you would tell athletes about pre-workouts?
Yeah, these are really popular. This is an industry where new pre-workouts are coming out weekly. And, there's a lot of concern on my side. Number one, from the adulteration side, I know we're going to talk about third-party certification, in this discussion. But, there's really, honestly, if you are doing things the right way, if you're getting enough sleep, if you are training hard, which I know athletes are training like crazy, and you are eating well, you truly don't need a pre-workout. Now, does that mean you can't have caffeine? And the answer is no. And does that mean all pre-workouts are dangerous? No. But here's what we found. We have talked to companies, and we have talked to testing companies, and things such as cocaine, amphetamine-like compounds, and even pharmaceutical drugs have been found in pre-workouts. And why is that? There are people that are making pre-workouts in their house. They're getting the ingredients from, let's say, countries like China, Mexico, and they're getting ingredients that are illegal or have banned or considered banned substances on the banned substance list. And they're making their own pre-workouts in their basements, and they're selling it online. Those are the bad players. They do have good players that, create formulas, but the problem with a lot of these formulas, they're just stimulants with some low doses of everything else, meaning they might be a little creatine, they might be a little arginine, which if you are taking a pre-workout, you never want to use arginine pre-workout because that can blunt your growth hormone level. There's beta-alanine, which makes your skin tingle. It makes you feel like something's going on, which there's research to support using that, but not in the dosages of consuming it all at one time. And then they're putting things like citrulline and taurine, which you're going to feel something. You're going to feel energy. You're going to get that stimulant effect. That's going to probably give you some focus. But at the end of the day, if your goal is bigger, stronger, then that's not what these things are designed to do. They're designed to give you energy. So a cup of coffee, in most cases, a cup of coffee from a regular coffee shop like Starbucks will have more caffeine than what's in these products. So you just have to really look and see, what do you need? Why are you using them? If it's because you're tired, maybe can you get more sleep, and see if that works. What's concerning is the dependency. One scoop sometimes doesn't become enough. It leads to 2 and 3. And then we start seeing side effects like we're seeing with energy drinks. Just one energy drink a day can cause blood vessel constriction, meaning your blood vessels are not getting as much flow by 20%, and it can lead to some problems. So, I don't recommend pre-workouts. I don't think, they really need to be used, but I can understand why some athletes want to use them.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I think athletes should probably stay away from pre-workouts. Really not a good use of money is what it sounds like.
Absolutely. Because a lot of
Okay.
these things cost three and $4 to make, and they're spending $40 to $50 on them.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you. Let's talk. I know you just talked briefly about creatine. Let's talk a little bit about that. I do have some athletes that come in. I think this is common that maybe want to do creatine, like let's say over the summer, and they want to just try to really get some muscle gain so that when they come back for the school year, they have increased strength and they're ready to go for the school year. Or maybe they just want to take it on a consistent basis. So tell me, what are your thoughts on what have you found on creatine in your research, and what do you recommend regarding creatine for athletes?
First of all, I'm excited. Next Tuesday, I'm interviewing Dr. Richard Kreider from Texas A&M, who is kind of like the father of creatine. He's written a book on it. So we're going to be doing a podcast with him to ask a lot of these questions. But in a lot of my work with creatine, I'm a big fan of it. There's a good place for creatine. Whether you want to use it year round or you want to, use it for a maintenance dose, there's different ways we can use creatine. But really in athletes that are strength and power based, that's where creatine seems to be best used. There's some science looking at concussion, brain health. But here's the problem with creatine. Well, first of all, let's talk what is creatine. It's made up of 3 amino acids, methionine, arginine, and glycine. And again, it's used in those high power sprinting type sports, track and field, baseball, basketball, football, etc. Now, just taking it's not going to cause a weight gain. You have to be in a calorie surplus if you're trying to get a little bit bigger and stronger. So I've had athletes that they might be burning 5,000 calories a day and only eating 3,000 calories a day. Creatine is not going to help you. There's also 7 or 8 different types of creatine right now being used in products. Monohydrate is still the gold standard. And if you look at the back of a label, you want that to also say Crea Pure. That means it comes from Germany. It's a pure form of creatine, and it's better, and it's used in a lot of the scientific evidence. That doesn't mean a generic creatine won't work. I just recommend Crea Pure. A lot of your top brands are using Crea Pure. Now, the one thing, I know we'll talk about supplement safety. That's going to be a key piece is, we want to make sure these things are certified. We'll talk about shortly what that means. But I'm recommending creatine after workouts, more from the recovery side than the pre-side, because you're going to exhaust a lot of your creatine stores in your body when you train. Let's use it as a recovery. 1 scoop right after. 3 to 5 grams can be plenty for your lighter athletes. 100 to 150 pounds, 3 grams would be sufficient. For your bigger athletes, your football players, the 2 to 250 to 300, we can use a little bit more, 5 grams, 7 grams, that can be used as a post-workout. And combining it with some carbohydrate, like a sports drink or some sort of, putting it in your smoothie after you blend your smoothie with protein and creatine, you're not only repairing your muscle protein stores and protein synthesis, but you're also repairing your creatine stores. So that's kind of how I'm recommending it now. And I use it in some athletes, high school athletes, college athletes, pro athletes, just depending on their purpose.
Okay, so it sounds like what you're saying is that creatine is a safe product. There are safe products, which we'll talk about more in a little bit later. But what you want to make sure is that you are in a power sport, that you're taking it, you're in the right sport for it, that you're in a calorie surplus, so that your diet is actually is correct. So you want to make sure you have a good diet for it. You're taking the pure form, the Crea Pure, and that you are doing it maybe after for recovery purposes, and that you're taking the right dose, the right amount of grams along with a carbohydrate source. So,
yeah.
so it sounds like there's some guidelines for it if you really want it to work. So you shouldn't just be going to the store, buying any creatine, taking it whenever you want. If you do that, you're really not going to get the gains that you want. Would
Exactly.
That be true?
Yeah, and there's a lot of companies out there trying to sell you on creatine HCl or this form of creatine, and there's very little science to support that when you combine it with monohydrate. In long-term studies, 5 years have shown this is safe if you take the right amount. There have been case studies where people just take way too much, and they say, oh, well, this is going to cause kidney failure or liver failure. Yeah, I mean, we don't really have studies that look at people overdosing on creatine because no one's going to approve a study like that. So
Right.
you the right amount, the right type, and the right dosage. Creatine can be safe. It's been studied in infants, children, and adults, as well as a lot of clinical populations. Over 60,000 studies have been done on creatine.
Okay, great. That was great information. Thank you. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. My next question is omega-3s, and this is a good topic. I know both you and we like our omega-3s. I do recommend omega-3s to my athletes almost to, anyone who is maybe not consuming a lot of fatty fish. I recommend eating fatty fish as often as you can, but we don't see a lot of that happening in the college population. And so can you tell me a little bit about the importance of omega-3s, specifically in athletes? And why should they be taking them? What are the benefits? What would you tell athletes about omega-3s?
Yeah, as you know, I love omega-3s. I've been drinking this stuff for probably the last 10 years. And my daughter's 9. I give her liquid fish oil every day, just about every day. It's a versatile nutrient. It's got so many different benefits. And it's not a magic pill. I try to tell people, look, this stuff's not magic by any means, but, we all should be taking omega-3 unless there's a medical reason not to. First of all, for the athlete, inflammation. Inflammation's a big word in regards to what does it mean? And, when you train hard, you lift weights, you have muscle soreness, or if you have an injury, inflammation's normal. You're not going to get rid of it, nor should we try to, because it's part of the healing process. But our diet is saturated with omega-6 fats. And if you're like, well, what are omega-6 fats? A lot of fried foods have omega-6 fats. A lot of processed foods have omega-6 fats. And our country eats a ratio of about 20 to 1, 6 to 3. So we're consuming a lot more 6 to a lot more 3. And that's why we have things like heart disease, cancer, and certain forms of conditions like Alzheimer's that are inflammatory based. If we can switch our diet or at least supplement with more omega-3, we can reverse that. We've actually seen studies that have shown when our omega-3 index, which is a blood test, just like cholesterol, if it's above 8%, things like heart disease is almost absent. Cardiac arrest is significantly dropped. Inflammation is almost not absent, but it's controlled a lot better. So, and there's a lot of studies that are now being done in college athletes to test omega-3 index. The average American comes in about 3.5 to 4%. We should be 8%. Countries like Okinawa, Japan, they have very high omega-3 levels, and they have very little incidence of heart disease. So for the athlete, though, that's boring. We want to recover faster. We want to be sore, a little bit less sore. That's where these things come in. But also brain health. There has been data to show if you take omega-3 after a concussion, it could restore the brain, because 60% of your brain is made up of fat, and 25% of that is made up of DHA, one of the key essential fatty acids in fish oil, or omega-3, that can help restore brain function and reduce inflammation in the brain. So many benefits. A study came out, I want to say a year or two ago, showing anabolic signaling properties, meaning it may have an anabolic effect. Now, that doesn't mean taking fish oil is going to add 20 pounds of lean muscle. No supplement that's legal is going to acutely change performance. But I think we should all be using this every single day. Okay,
great. So we need to get on board. We need to get on board with omega-3s, a safe omega-3.
Yeah, and 2 grams a day. And that's the thing is, I know we probably don't want to discuss brands or anything like that, but not all fish oil is created the same, or omega-3. You just don't want to go to the store and buy a generic fish oil off the counter, because there's different forms. There's ethyl ester, which is the majority of the fish oil that sits on the shelf. There's what's called krill oil, which is good. It's got a good absorption and bioavailability. And then you have what's called triglyceride-based, which is, I consider, the gold standard. If you can find a good triglyceride-based fish oil, that has better bioavailability and absorption in your blood than other forms. So yeah, that's what we look for. And 2 to 3 grams a day, 2,000 to 3,000 milligrams of combined EPA and DHA, at least.
Okay. And for the athlete specifically, this is going to help reduce some of that inflammation that they see from all of this overusage and intense exercise that they're doing. Okay. So, and athletes obviously can see their sports dietitian to find out brands and kinds that have that, because there are brands out there that have exactly that dosage and exactly that kind. Okay, so moving on, let's talk a little bit about certified products. So a lot of athletes are familiar with NSF. It's kind of gotten a big range of, getting out there in public and starting to know what NSF is and NSF certified products. So that is what we call it in the collegiate setting, kind of the gold standard. If it's NSF certified, then we're safe to say that it has been tested for any NCAA banned substances, as well as mislabeled ingredients. So now, what do you think athletes should be going to the NSF website, searching products, finding something that is certified and thinking, oh, if it's certified, it's good for me. I should go out and get it and I'm going to get better performance. Is that a good practice for college athletes?
Yeah, that's a great question, because Number one, yeah, we definitely recommend use the app. NSF has a great app that you can use and download just to get an idea of what products and brands are certified. I think that's important because I call the supplement industry a Russian roulette industry. Over 60,000 products, and most of them are not certified. So if you're not taking NSF or a third-party certified product, then your risk of testing positive goes up. Now, the key part is just because it's third-party tested and certified by NSF doesn't mean it's going to work. It just means it's free of banned substances. Your chances of testing positive on a drug test are very, very slim and none. But that doesn't mean it's well formulated. There's a difference between formulated and tested. Some products are poorly formulated, but they still spend the money to get their products tested. And some products are formulated fairly well and don't, and then also get their products tested. So just because it's NSF certified doesn't mean it's going to work or I recommend using it. But if you are going to use anything, then you don't ask questions. Make sure it has that little blue logo, because I don't care what people. I've had athletes recently. We had a couple of college athletes, football players, walk into a supplement store, a well-known chain, buy a weight gain powder recommended by the person behind the counter, and they tested positive for SARMs. So, and they lost eligibility. And that's the thing. You can't trust the supplement store staff. They have absolutely no clue what they're doing when it comes to supplement science and supplement safety. And a study came out a few years ago, and it demonstrated that. The author of the study pretended to be a 15-year-old high school athlete and called over 240 stores and said, hey, I'm trying to gain weight. What can I take? 9% was trying to push him to buy a testosterone booster, and 41% would have sold him a testosterone booster in the store. So that's what we're dealing with, guys, is talk to your sports dietitian, talk to Tracy, talk to your staff, your medical staff, your athletic training staff, before you put anything in your body, because there's a lot of people out there trying to sell you something because they know you're an athlete, and they don't know the first thing about what happens at the collegiate or professional level.
Absolutely. So moral of the story, talk to your sports dietitian. So in terms of like when to use a supplement, one thing I like to ask athletes and look at is their diet first. What are they eating? Can some of these concerns that athletes have, like gaining muscle, losing body fat, can some of this happen with changing your diet?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, food first has got to be the first key component. 99% of our results are going to come from our diet. Like I said, there's no legal magic pill that's going to increase your strength, increase recovery, do all these things that you're looking for acutely. It's going to take time. Omega-3, for example, if your levels are low, it's going to take time to build them up in the blood. But there are some benefits to using that, immediately. Things like tart cherry juice, or that can help with recovery and muscle soreness. Creatine is not going to magically put weight on you in a short period of time unless your diet is solid. So if you get your diet under control and then obviously use things that have science to support them, then you're giving yourself a better chance to perform better. But I think we get so focused on being perfect with our diet. We get so focused on we need immediate results and that immediate feedback. We want that instant gratification. We don't have patience with our diet. So if we don't see the scale move in a week, or if we don't see our body feel better in a week, we give up and then we look for a magic pill. So, give yourself six to 12 weeks before you truly know what that outcome is going to happen. I mean, it takes at least 10 weeks for our body to truly see a change. 6 weeks, good things can happen, but in 10 to 12 weeks, some amazing things can happen if we're 90 to 95% compliant with our eating habits.
Okay, so we have to be patient. Patience is the key. So yes, I've actually had experiences where athletes come in to see me and they want to take supplements, and I give them a rule. I say, okay, let's work on your diet. Let's work on your diet for a month or longer, and let's see at that point if we still need supplements. And oftentimes we work on the diet and they end up seeing a lot of the results that they want to see. Their goal has been achieved, and we don't even talk about supplements anymore. So that's an interesting, sometimes that happens. It's very interesting. Okay, let's move on. I do have a couple more questions. I know your time is very valuable. A couple more questions while I have you here. I see a lot of times athletes want to take extra, vitamins and minerals. So they come in and they're saying, I'm taking a vitamin C, I'm taking biotin, I'm taking vitamin D, and I'm taking iron. And my next question may be, have you had any blood work done? Are you deficient in any of these vitamins or minerals? And they say, no, I haven't had any blood work done, but I just want to take them. So what do you say to athletes that are just taking kind of random things that just have a feeling or an inkling they need to take something, what would you say to them?
Yeah, well, I mean, first we got to figure out what's the purpose. That's the question I asked. 3 questions: is the product clean? Does it have a banned substance? And what's the purpose? Why are you taking that product? If you're just taking it because you heard something in the media or from a friend, you obviously go talk to your sports dietitian to do a better evaluation. There are some things that we should all be taking. Like I said, omega-3. Most of us are deficient in omega-3. Most of us are deficient in vitamin D. Those things make sense to supplement. At the same time, don't just go buy something off the shelf because you heard it on a radio show, a TV show, etc., because then we have a lot of concerns that too much of something could cause a problem. If we consume too much vitamin D, that could lead to excessive intake or whatever that is. So yeah, that's a great question. Is we just don't want to take things because we want to take them. And I've seen that. I've seen athletes logs and go, wow, you have 15 different products you're taking. Why are you taking so much? Well, this coach told me this, or my dad told me that, or whatever. And it's like, find a credible source and let's really map out a plan for success.
Okay. So take home message for athletes is maybe we don't need to take anything until we first talk to, the sports dietitian and see if there's really a need, or possibly, maybe we need to get some blood work and see if there's a deficiency. Are we anemic or iron deficient before we start taking something? Okay, very good. Lastly, kind of my last question is, since the research on all of these supplements, what's out there, is there really a magic pill for muscle gain? Muscle gain, it seems to be what, it doesn't matter if you're female or male, it doesn't matter what sport, the more muscle, it seems like the better performance. At least that's the theory for a lot of athletes. So what supplement can they take to get muscle gain? That is safe.
Yeah. Well, the first thing, in order to build muscle, you have to do 2 things. You have to eat adequate calories and you have to lift weights. Those are really the 2 key things that are going to cause muscle. And obviously a great strength training program, which at the collegiate level, you have good strength coaches. Now, the first thing I'm going to recommend for muscle gain is going to be creatine, because if you're eating enough and adequate protein, if you're getting adequate protein throughout the day, and usually that's about your body weight, 0.8 grams. So if you're 200 pounds, about 160 grams of protein. You can go a little higher, but never more than 1 gram per pound. There's some good science to support that. But if we're looking at a supplement, again, creatine has been the most well-researched when it comes to mass and strength and power. There's some other things that have a little bit of science to support that, but still, maybe L-carnitine, L-tartrate when it comes to strength and power. I don't know if there's one that's NSF for sports certified. I would even still look at omega-3 for anabolic signaling, but that's really going to be the key supplement in my case that's got enough research to use. Other than that, adequate calories, adequate protein, in a good strength and conditioning program. There's really nothing else that's going to get any massive. Now, again, adequate vitamin D levels are important because we know vitamin D is a steroid hormone. There can be some benefits to where we've seen anabolic properties of vitamin D if our levels are normal. There's some correlation with adequate vitamin D and testosterone levels. Same thing with magnesium. Magnesium is one of those, unique minerals we don't talk a lot about, but, if our levels of magnesium are low, we may see a slight drop in testosterone levels. But there's no magic pill to boost testosterone. It's not like, let's go buy these testosterone boosters that everybody's advertising, like Nugenix. There's things that are not even formulated with ingredients that truly increase testosterone. So we can do this through food, training, and a few things like vitamin D, magnesium, and creatine can be helpful.
Okay. So to sum it up, it sounds like there is no magic pill, but there may be some things out there that can help with muscle gain. But first and foremost, we've got to get our diet on track, and we've got to have a good lifting regimen. So I think that is the first part that athletes really need to, remember is until the diet and the lifting is in place, then there's no need to look at any of these extra things. Once those are in place, we've done it for about 12 weeks, and we still want to see some more results. Now is the time to see your sports dietitian, because there might be a couple things out there that could assist in getting some of those muscle gains.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, that sounds great. Those were all my questions revolving around the collegiate world. Those seem to be the hot topics, and you really cleared up a lot of, maybe some misinformation or some, curious minds. So I appreciate your time, and hopefully we can do this again another time. This was really informative.
Thank you so much. No, it's been fun, Tracy. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to come on and and talk, and hopefully it was helpful, and hope, your student athletes creates a little bit more, conversation with you to make sure they make the smart decisions. Because as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of product adulteration going on out there with supplements, and a lot more college athletes are testing positive for banned substances than we've ever seen before. You don't hear about it because it's not published, but we talk to a lot of different, people. We speak at a lot of different colleges, and it's kind of scary, some of the things that athletes are buying.
It's definitely out there, and we need to get this information out and really get it into in the hands of the athletes, and have them really understand the ramifications of just going out and taking anything they want to take. So
absolutely.
All right, well, thank you so much. This has been fun. I appreciate it, and have a great day.
Good to see you.
Thanks. All right, bye-bye.